Greetings, I'm Noel Dear. Welcome to today's Daily Devotion. I hope these next few minutes will encourage you as you seek to learn God's Word and abide with Christ. Our focus today is James chapter 3, verses 1 through 6. And as we come to the third chapter in James, we're shifting gears just a little bit, but this is critical wisdom from the Lord. Let's read verse 1. Not many should become teachers, my brothers, because you know that we will receive a stricter judgment. Now, when he uses the word teacher here, he's referring to someone who serves in an official capacity as a teacher. So this doesn't discourage us. It shouldn't discourage us from speaking God's word. It shouldn't cause us to be hesitant to testify to God's truth. This is talking to someone specifically who has the role as a teacher. Now, it could refer to a pastor teacher, and it could refer to a lay teacher, someone who teaches in Sunday school or in a small group ministry or children's ministry or youth ministry. But it's talking to those who have the assignment and the role as a Bible teacher. And it says that those people are under stricter judgment. Why is that? Well, simply because they have greater influence. If you're teaching, by definition, there are multiple people who are listening to the words that you're saying. Maybe it's a half dozen people or a dozen or 50 or 100 or 1,000. And because there are multiple people hearing what you're sharing, then you have greater influence. And because you have greater influence, you're under stricter judgment. Now, that's an important thing for every teacher to consider and for every church to consider as the church is choosing teachers. But I think this verse says something even more than that. I think it's reminding us of the importance and the value of God's Word. God's Word should be handled with great care. It should be taught with great care because it is so powerful and it is so valuable. Imagine someone walking through a path in the forest and they're carrying a big wooden box filled with dynamite. That person's going to walk very carefully. They're going to measure every step. Well, we should handle God's Word the same way. It is just that important. Now let's look together at verse 2. For we all stumble in many ways. If anyone does not stumble in what he says, he is mature, able also to control the whole body. Now verse 2 here sets up all the verses that follow by indicating that our tongue, which is his way of saying our speech, our words, our tongue serves as a barometer for our spirituality. If we could control our tongue perfectly, we could control our entire spirituality perfectly. We can't, but if we could, we could. As our speech goes, so goes the rest of our spiritual lives. Now, with that being true, he's going to teach us that. He's going to help us to understand that in these next few verses. Verse 3. Now, if we put bits into the mouths of horses so that they obey us, we direct their whole bodies. Now, this is the first of 3 illustrations he's going to use in these verses to help us understand the power, the influence that the tongue, our speech, has on our lives and what it says about our spiritual maturity. He talks here about a bit in the mouth of a horse. In a moment, he's going to talk about a rudder on a great ship, and then he's going to talk about a small fire before a great forest. So specifically here in this verse, with the bit and the horse, the tiny bit in the mouth of the great horse determines the direction and the movement of that horse. So, here's the lesson. The way we use our words both indicates our direction and it determines the direction of our spiritual growth and maturity, our spirituality, our walk with the Lord. Now, he uses the second illustration in the next verse, verse 4, and consider ships. Though very large and driven by fierce winds, they are guided by a very small rudder wherever the will of the pilot directs. So a rudder, as you know, is tiny compared to the size of the ship that it steers. There's a temptation I think all of us face to think of our speech as insignificant. We teach our kids to say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. And we're trying to get our kids to not allow that they won't be hurt by the careless words of others. But I'm afraid we're also teaching our kids with that statement that words don't really matter, and we know that they do. Just a few coarse words, just a few white lies can have devastating consequences. One of the things people say often today is, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And we usually say that after we've just said some words we shouldn't have said. And what we're saying at the end of that is that I know I shouldn't have said that, but I'm just saying it. It's just words. And so it's not important, but it is important. And James tells us that our words have an outsized influence on the direction of our lives and on our walk with the Lord. Listen to how Jesus said it. Matthew chapter 12. He said, I tell you that on the day of judgment, people will have to account for every careless word they speak. For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned. Our words are serious matters. Look at verse 5. So too, though the tongue is a small part of the body, it boasts great things. Consider how a small fire sets ablaze a large forest. So a small fire, he's talking about a campfire, just a very small blaze, and it seems insignificant, but we know that it can set an entire forest on fire, and it can destroy thousands of acres and all kinds of wildlife, and many people can lose their lives because of that. And he makes application in the next verse. He says, and the tongue is a fire. The tongue, a world of unrighteousness, is placed among our members. It stains the whole body, sets the course of life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. Just like it's hard to see in a small campfire the great destruction of a wildfire, so it's hard for us to see the potential danger in just a few words. But he's telling us here, there is danger. There is danger. Notice here he says that the fire can stain the whole body. Several years ago, many years ago now, I had a house fire, and the flames of the fire destroyed much of my house and much of my belongings. But what wasn't destroyed by the flames was ruined by the smoke. It stained everything beyond repair. In fact, I think the smoke caused at least as much damage as the flames. And so here he says that this fire will stain our whole bodies. It will ruin us, every part of us, if we're not careful. And then it says right at the end of the verse, he says, it is itself set on fire by hell. Satan is looking for a way to use our words, to use your words to start a fire that can burn down your life, that can burn down your marriage, that can burn down your family, that can burn down your church. We must be very careful with the words that we say, both because of what those words say about our spiritual health and the danger of what those words can do when they're spoken carelessly. Friends, thanks for watching or listening. If you're on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. That helps us get the word out. On your favorite podcasting app, just search for Pastor Noel's Daily Devotions. More info at noeldear.com. I hope you have a great day as you endeavor to abide in Christ.